Hello and welcome back. Today's guest is Didi Ferrari, and Didi is a nutritionist, a holistic health and fitness coach, and she is a cognitive behavioral therapy specialist. I love the fact that she brings all of these together, and today you're going to learn why dieting, maintaining a fitness workout, and anything else that's nutrition or health related has such a high crossover with cognitive behavioral therapy. It all starts in the brain, and the way that we approach it is going to dictate our success and how long we're able to stay the course. Some amazing insights in here. She shares what supplements all women should be on. She shares some incredible statistics about the amount of calories that we actually need. And we grow up believing that men need 2,000 calories and women need 1,800 calories a day. But actually, depending on where you are in your menstrual cycle as a woman, changes the amount of calories that you need at certain points. And for men, there's quite a few different effects as well. So yeah, I really hope you enjoy the episode. Really informative one, this one, and lots of practical advice that you can take away to start making a difference in your own lives. I really hope you enjoy it, and as always, if you wouldn't mind dropping a like, a follow or subscribe, whatever platform you're watching on, I will love you for it. Thank you so much. Didi, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm very honored to be asked.
You were recommended to me as a guest, and I went and looked at your content, and you're an expert in quite an interesting field. You're an expert in cognitive behavioral therapy and nutrition, particularly for women.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind giving us a run through? Let's start with cognitive behavioral therapy. What is that?
So after spending about 6 years just coaching nutrition, being very sort of focused on the body and the science of it, I decided that a lot of people really need support with their mental health. And that's obviously something that is a tricky subject within the fitness industry, because we forget about the mind and we just focus on the body when it comes to a lot of advice. And so many struggles with nutrition and exercise and training come from just being overly critical. So CBT allows me to be able to throw up a mirror to my clients and be like, is there evidence to support this? I look fat today, I look awful, or I can't do this, or a lot of the self-limiting beliefs that they have about themselves.
So that ties into increasing the success rate with them sticking to dietary plans or fitness plans, right? Is that the plan?
Yeah, absolutely. If you marry the two, you will see so much more benefit out of them really understanding their journey, not just kind of only thinking about a set amount of weight that they need to lose. It kind of also seeps into a lot of other aspects of their life, confidence in relationships, jobs, unlocking doors to things that they had no idea they would be able to, but they didn't really understand that fully at the beginning, and I just kind of throw it at them during the coaching.
Yeah, 100%. I get asked sometimes, what's the best diet?
Yeah.
And the answer that I love to that is the one that you'll stick to. So I'm not a big fan of these crash diets where no carbs or,
Thank God.
yeah, anything like that.
Pleased to hear.
Yeah, because there's no longevity in it. You're not going to survive if you spend the rest of your life not having carbs. And there are exceptions to that. I know there are some people that live literally on a carnivore diet, but for most people, that's going to do things to your body that isn't sustainable long term.
Mm-hmm.
So you want a diet that you can stick to. And it sounds like the cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, ties into that.
Yeah, it does. And yeah, like you said, many people choose extreme things as a little bit of a mask for dealing with deeper things going on in their life. Their life can be an absolute chaos, but they'll want to focus on their body and what they can actually control, which is food and exercise, as a bit of a dissociation or a distraction from kind of dealing with the things that they're actually struggling with deeper down.
Interesting.
If that makes sense.
No, 100% it does. And another thing, when I've had friends in the past that ask me to start training them, and I will ask the question, why do you want to?
Mm-hmm.
And that gets to generally the root cause. You might need to ask why 4 times, because the first answer will be, I want to look fitter. Okay, why do you want to look fitter? And the thing is, if it is just to get fit for a certain day, like going to Ibiza with the boys for a week or something like that, then that's fine. But then there's going to be a rebound afterwards. If it is, I'm not happy with my life and I want to be a healthier person, then that is generally a good indicator that they're going to stick at it, because the reason why is about becoming something else rather than trying to get away from something temporarily.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like, you can't hate your way to a body that you like. And anybody that starts any point of change from a place of, I don't like myself, I hate myself, and it's very harsh and critical, will never see the longevity in that. It doesn't matter if it's a year, 3 years, 5 years. I'm sure many people are still successful at very extreme things that they're doing now. But at some point, you're going to run out of mental energy for that life.
And I have news for those people as well. As someone who's speaking firsthand, that voice doesn't go away when you solve the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I have already achieved goals that I told myself I would be very happy with and surpassed them and then achieved further ones. And I still look at myself in the mirror and think, improve on that. So I think the CBT part is a huge part of it, not just for the endurance and success at sticking at it, but also for your own mental health.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a great example of, we will always choose to move the goalposts, and it's conditional happiness. When you're happy when you've done this or done that, you never actually fully achieve that because there's always conditions on it. You're probably anxious about trying to get there. And then when you get there, you're anxious about maintaining it. So it's just all very fear driven, and you actually just still don't like yourself at the end of the day anyway. So
100%. And you make your focus these parts of yourself that you want to change.
Yeah.
And when you focus on something, you're always going to find more things that could be improved, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of my friends said to me the other day, she said, when I actually talk to you, you're a very deep person, but on your Instagram, it just looks like there's someone that's obsessed with your body. And I said, yeah, I don't think I am. I said, I think people probably think I care about it more than I do. But I actually thought about that conversation over the last week, because it was a week ago. And I thought, I think that I have perhaps got out of touch with how much other people care about their bodies and their appearance. And so that I think I just care about it a normal amount.
Right.
But by spending 13 years in the gym and constantly judging myself and constantly pushing myself to improve, maybe what I think is normal is so far out of line with what is the mode.
True.
That there's something in it. So I actually dropped her a voice note today to say, thank you for giving me that room for introspection.
Conversations like that can be really important, especially when you're in your own world and somebody makes a comment. Like, I'm the same. I like to think that I'm a relatively deep person, but I spent a long time superficially doing 6-week shreds, working in a very body focused environment. Because I've entered the fitness industry in the OG Gymshark bodybuilding, going to Body Power Expos. That was the only thing that was going on in the world of fitness, maybe 10, 12 years ago now. So now that there's so much more discussion about mental health and how people understand that it's not just about your body, I think it's a really interesting part for us to have these conversations and for others as well.
100%, because there are so many good reasons to start working out, like the effect that it will have on your mental health, like the effect that it will have on your confidence in general, except when you're scrutinizing yourself in the mirror. And
body image, yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, 100%. So I could still advise anyone to get into it, but it's a meme that says the last day that you're happy with your body is the day before you step in the gym. You seen that one?
No. Okay.
No.
I like that. Yeah. Interesting.
I think it's obviously a bit tongue in cheek, because if you were that happy with your body, you probably wouldn't be stepping in the gym anyway. But it does highlight that when you are just working with the goal of improvement without a definitive finish line, then you're just getting on a hamster wheel that you're never going to get off of.
Yeah. I guess the game is to just still be playing, right? There is no end point to health. Health doesn't end. And the pursuit of that should never be on somebody's mind, because there are other things that people need to put attention and effort to. And granted, for some people, it's very lucrative in terms of money and income. So I understand reasons why people are so body focused, especially on social media, they're visual platforms. But you tap into a level of vulnerability and understanding in people when you talk about these things, because we're all just human beings. We all struggle to accept ourselves and our bodies. And that's obviously going to be quite common in gym settings and fitness industry as well.
100%. So what are some live action things that people can do to try and increase their chances of sticking at going to the gym or sticking at being healthier in their nutrition?
Well, taking it back to your excellent point on like asking why is something I will always do. If people are like, Didi, want to lose too soon, I'm like, why? Like, what is this really about? Do you just want a sense of control that you feel you can't get any other way? Like, is this just a mask or a cry for help for something else? Because then, sure, we can pursue your health, but we need to focus on those things as well. So understanding why you're doing it, what you hope to achieve from it, are you able to live the life of somebody that you think has that body that you are aiming for? Because we all think about the day-to-dayness of it, but you can't stop those behaviors that are going to get you there. It doesn't end. Otherwise, you still rebound, like many people yo-yo dieting have experienced. Talking to yourself compassionately, whether that's whatever fits for you, affirmations, journaling, understanding your negative David Goggins drive. Like, a lot of us are type A overachievers, and we have to constantly be moving towards something and have goals. So knowing that this isn't just like another string on a bow, that you just kind of constantly achieve something and that it's for the right reasons. So I'd say starting it with that acceptance and compassion, which is very difficult to achieve. But that's why I like having a coach that is not just body focused on achieve.
Is there a sort of template? You know, there are these ones like keto or, you know, diets that generally just have a name and it's a one size fits all. Yeah. Or do you take a more bespoke approach?
It's 100% bespoke. I don't even to this point now recommend certain like recipes as such, because who am I to tell people like you should on a Tuesday night be eating prawn risotto? Like, to be that dictatorial about the way someone eats is only going to result in some form of rebellion. Like, nobody likes to be told what to do. And even if they're paying for it, you think that's a great to buy, but it isn't. So yeah, understanding like you need to work with your preferences first. So I will use visual food diaries and look at pictures, see what their day of eating is like, the timings, what stresses go on in their life, and just put myself in their shoes first to be able to actually like talk to them on a level that they can decide.
I like that.
Yeah.
I grew up being told that women need 1,800 calories a day and men need 2,000. You shared something a while ago saying women need 2,500 calories.
Yes.
Would you mind going into that?
So that was more aimed at the recovery of a menstrual cycle. So when women, we are very susceptible to energy fluctuations with our diets, which is why a very masculine approach to dieting, like tracking everything, training, over exercising, it works for you with your hormonal profile of like testosterone. But for women, we're essentially just a running clock of, are you pregnant or are you not? And does the body need to protect that in some way? So you have to be conscious that if there's a threat in your body from like a stress perspective, whether that's lack of energy, overtraining, you're going to shut off one of your reproductive organs and the ability to have a healthy menstrual cycle, which is like a fifth vital sign for a woman. It's so important and crucial in our health. Because if you don't have a menstrual cycle, you don't have estrogen levels, and that affects our bone density and so many other things in our bodies. So you compromise that by crash dieting and eating 1,200 calories. And yeah, 2,500 calories is pretty much the minimum I would suggest if anybody hasn't had their menstrual cycle, it's not healthy and it's not cyclical and routine every month, then I would need to understand as my client, why is that? Because something's not right there.
Interesting. So if you were to work with a client who wanted to be in a deficit, so wanted to cut, for a guy, that would generally be, okay, you're going to have 1,800 calories a day every day for the next month or so. With a woman, you're saying you would tend to vary that week to week based on where they are on the menstrual cycle.
It won't be that specific, but even for men, God, 1,800 calories. I mean, you probably know from your awareness of like food, but that's not a lot of food. And like 1,800 to like the new 1,200. I feel like we just move the numbers up a notch. Like 1,400 for an active female is not a lot. No. 1,800 is still not a lot. And for men, Jesus, like I won't really go any lower than about 2,200 or something with my male clients on top.
So if the baseline of what the the Department of Health in the UK is saying is 2000. And I mean, there can't actually be a baseline because it is completely different based on your body size, your level of activity, even your resting heart rate, right? Because people like me who've got attention and fidgeting disorders, and I'm constantly there bouncing my leg and everything.
Your knee is up 24/7.
Exactly. I probably burn 200 calories a day just from bouncing my knee or fidgeting with a pen or something, right? So it is completely different from person to person. But then I take it if you're saying that to diet and be in a cut, you want to be having at least 2,200, you then need to be adding in greater levels of exercise, right?
Well, it depends. Like if you've got it depends on who I'm working with. If I'm working with Brenda, a 50-year-old menopausal woman that just kind of maybe does 10,000 steps a day, goes to the gym twice a week for a strength class, like I have to understand how active they are as a person, what their needs are. You are very active. You have a high energy requirement, especially with a level of muscle mass as well. Women, we just don't have a lot of muscle, and that is a huge part of our metabolic ability to burn calories in a day. So like me, I'm 5 foot nothing, vertically challenged and versatile. It's like I don't need a lot of calories to sustain what I do unless I'm trying to train for a marathon or something like that. So I have to know what you're doing roughly on a day-to-day basis to be able to kind of like give that. But I don't have a calorie calculator and that's more bespoke than like on my fitness pal or something super generic. And I worked with somebody to be able to be more bespoke on like step count and how active they are. That's not just like, do you do 10,000 or not? Okay, eat 100 calories a day.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
A lot of nuance to that.
One of the fortunate things about being my size and weighing 100 kilograms is that my dieting means I need a deficit of around 500 calories, which still means I have around 3,000 a day, which to most people...
You're living a dream, 3,000.
I know, but the thing is...
Put that out there, people will come for you.
I know, but the thing is still a deficit, right? And the hunger you get is from your body not receiving the amount of nutrition that it needs to be in a state of homeostasis. And it means that you're then in a deficit and you're burning reserves. And eating 300,000 calories, I mean, I don't have evidence to support this, but I am confident that I am just in as much hunger and pain as someone who is in a 500 calorie deficit from 1,800 to 1,300.
Yeah. Hunger is very bespoke as well. Sometimes I'll talk to clients about what does hunger actually mean to you? How do you know when you're hungry? Because I grew up having to finish all my plate of my food. So many of us grown up in households where we are completely disconnected from our hunger cues because of certain like beliefs that we've had, food waste, economic situations, things like that. So you know how you are when you're hungry, and it's important to understand, like, am I stressed? Am I tired? Am I fatigued? Do I need food, or is this just, again, trying to fit something else?
Something I realized, I started doing cuts diets and intermittent fasting around 2 years ago. And it was because I never needed to. I was always a really skinny kid. So when I started going to the gym and working out, it just came on as lean muscle mass because I wasn't able to eat enough to then build fat as well. And it wasn't until, around 3 or 4 years ago that I started eating enough to actually get a bit chubbier than I would have liked as well.
Okay.
So when I started doing intermittent fasting, which for those of you that don't know, it's when you spend an extended period of time not eating. And you can have it in different windows. And I personally was doing 18 hours that I couldn't eat and 6 hours that I could eat. So you need to get your entire daily calories within 6 hours. You don't actually realize until you do something like this that there are different levels to hunger. And I realized
what were your levels? Tell me.
I'd spent my whole life in the privileged position of thinking I was hungry when I hadn't eaten for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And when you get to that window where you're looking at the clock thinking you've got to wait another 2 hours before your breakfast after you haven't eaten for 16 hours, it can do something else to you. But the interesting thing is the body is so adaptable that after 3 or 4 days of doing it, it then almost felt like routine and I almost didn't want to eat until my window was opening.
Yeah. What you've noticed there is 3 days is our body's ability to regulate our ghrelin and our leptin and our hunger hormones. Anyone can do anything for 3 days. That's why people throw in the towel when they try to diet, because it's too much. And then if they sustained it and got past that, then as you would see, you kind of do get to persevere and be consistent with that, if that's something you want to do.
Yeah, 100%. And to double down on how adaptable the body is, I have always had a massive sweet tooth.
Same.
Yeah, always loved junk food. And I did a period last year where I did 2 to 3 months without having any junk food at all. And I was in a deficit for pretty much the whole time to get lean for some shoot in Bali that I did with Juria.
Okay.
I remember, because I've been so good at it, some days I was whinging and I was wishing I could join in. And then we were on holiday with my friends for a week before we did the shoot. And so they're all eating holiday food. And I was like still there with my chicken and rice. And when I finished the shoot, my friends decided to treat me. So we went straight to a burger joint and I had a burger and chips. They then ordered cinnamon rolls to get delivered.
Great.
And I ate a cinnamon roll. And I came back to the villa. I was so ill. The feeling that I had, and a burger and cinnamon roll any other day of the week or any other period of my life, no problem. I'll have another burger and another cinnamon roll on top. But my body just got so used to not having that kind of food in me and that level of caloric intake that when I did, I was almost in a state of shock. And I was lying in bed holding my stomach thinking I'm going to throw up.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess what you're experiencing is kind of like, I've never met somebody who's been restrictive with their diet that hasn't swung on the pendulum to the other side of overeating or binge eating. That's why you can't have one without the other. So I will know immediately if a client comes to me going, Didi, I binge eat on an evening, can't not eat a share size bar of Cadbury's. I'll know that there's either physical restriction or mental restriction in terms of like, they're just thinking that they're restricted from food. And that's like, don't think of a pink elephant. All we want is a pink elephant.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really interesting to see how you experience that. But yeah, you do reap the consequences, unfortunately, when you don't stick to the rigidity, I guess, of what you were before the shoot.
100%, because then I carried on eating like that the next day and the day after, and then it was back to business as usual, right? My body then swung back the other way, and then I had all these sugar cravings again. Okay. So it's interesting. I love how adaptable my body is and that I can set my mind to something and we can make it happen. But sometimes it can work against you.
For your metabolism, you're blessed, right? Like you've got muscle mass, you've got testosterone on your side. A female doing the same thing, which they will, it's a recipe for just visceral fat gain, health complications. We're not able to, I guess, I don't want to say offset, but get away with it as lightly as potentially men who are incredibly active and you can kind of sort that out fairly soon afterwards.
Yeah, I am well aware of my privilege.
Cinnamon rolls and donuts included. Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's the caloric side of things. What sort of supplements should women be considering?
Okay, so for women, creatine, I mean, I'm sure you're very familiar with it. It's better now. As women, we kind of just felt like it was a male supplement. And then we got a bit scared about the fact that we gained a bit of water weight when we take it. So everyone freaked out. And then 3 days later, you just stopped taking it. So everyone's got some in their cupboard at some point from trying it and then aborting the mission. But the water retention, which will happen, that's perfectly exactly what it's supposed to do. But the water is intracellular. It's supposed to make you actually look a little bit more muscle fullness.
It's going to be in your muscles. It's not going to be the kind of water weight that you get when you've been out on a night drinking or something.
Exactly. I think people potentially, I could be wrong, mistake the gastrointestinal upset for bloating, a little bit of distension of their stomach, for thinking that that is weight gain, or like that water is somehow like, subcutaneous or in their skin or something like that. But the benefits of it for women, especially for strength training, trying to protect their muscle mass as much as possible, cognitive benefits, there's absolutely no reason, even during pregnancy, obviously speak to your GP, I'm not a doctor, but there's a lot of good evidence to support us taking it, even in that phase, because obviously didn't really tell a lot.
Perfect. Creatine, what's next on our list?
Creatine, omega-3s, essential, fatty acids are called essential for a reason. So if you're not getting 2 portions of oily fish, and I know everyone knows that information, but every time I look at a client's food diary with pictures, I'm like, I just don't see anything that's got omega-3s in it. So we do need to consume that. And you're talking like, chia seeds, salmon, oily fishes, and you can easily supplement that if you're not hitting the food criteria.
We need to be reminded of things more than we need to be taught them. That is a quote that I have taken from Alex Hormozy, and I love it because I know that you need to be having your omega-3. I've gone through periods in my life of supplementing it, and I'm currently not, and I don't eat fish. So there is, without a doubt, an omega deficiency in my system.
Yeah.
And my joints have been pretty horrendous recently, which could tie in with that. So thank you again for reminding. And as you say, yeah, I'm sure everyone does know that. They would have learned that in school. But yeah, there's your reminder. If you're not getting your 2 portions of oily fish, is it a day?
Oh, no, a week.
A week. If you're not getting your 2 portions of oily fish a week, then yeah, you should be considering supplementing omega-3.
Yeah. And if I get anyone that's constantly ill all the time, doesn't eat a lot of vegetables, is a bit deficient, I will know that they are not, they don't have enough in their diet because it affects your immune system as well. So I mean, it's essential for a reason. The kind of clues in the name, but we don't get it unless we take it on board. Our bodies can't produce it ourselves.
Okay. Anything else on the list that is essential or close to?
Okay, so creatine, omega-3s, myo-inositol is a really good supplement for women. I do talk about that a lot because I deal with polycystic ovary syndrome, and it's basically a natural sugar derived from the body itself anyway, but it can really help with menstrual regularity and the quality of our egg production. So I've even had clients that are on a fertility journey, struggled, took myo-inositol, and they got pregnant fairly well after it. Of course, I'm not saying it's complete down to that. I'd like to think it is, but the effects of that and PCOS, which 1 in 10 women struggle with, can't deny that for statistics on it.
What is PCOS?
It's polycystic ovary syndrome. So it's where cysts grow on our ovaries. And we also have slightly higher androgen levels, insulin issues. So it's kind of a network of symptoms that is a byproduct of this condition. So myo-inositol is probably my third choice.
Perfect. That's one that I have never heard of and I wouldn't know how to spell.
Myo-inositol. So yeah.
Perfect. Is there any benefits to men for that?
For men, potentially with sperm quality. So that is something that a partner should look into as well if they are thinking about conceiving and they're trying to optimize their chances.
Perfect. So if we've got any trying couples listening, yeah, make sure you add myo-inositol to both your diets.
Yeah.
Lovely. Anything else on that list? Or was that about all we
I'll probably forgot a really glaringly obvious one. Is there any you think I should be saying?
No,
what do you take?
I'm not leading you anywhere. So I take creatine.
Yeah.
And that is literally it. I have taken omega-3 in the past. I have taken multivitamins in the past. But currently creatine, protein, and a whole lot of food.
Not dabbled in the ashwagandha or any of the...
Oh, I have. I've done tonka ali. I haven't done ashwagandha. I've done tonka ali and Fedosia agrestis.
Oh, okay.
Which is supposed to naturally help boost a man's testosterone. Mm-hmm. I felt a difference at the time, but I don't know. I didn't get my bloods done before and after, and you don't know how much of it is psychosomatic, right? So, yeah. But I didn't have any adverse effects. But I did read something after I started taking it that they tested Fedosia agrestis in rats, and it led to a really high rate of testicular cancer. So, okay. So I think
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I didn't renew my my order of that one afterwards, just on the off chance. But yeah.
Oh, it's fascinating. There are so many supplements. Not many of them at this point will have the research to support it. We all like to make claims that a supplement can change your life, but if you've been in this game long enough, you'll know that just sticking to the foundations are probably where you're going to see more benefits than just throwing a stack of supplements at it.
Exactly. But everyone likes the idea of this new thing that's just been discovered that's going to change the game, right? Mm-hmm. Which actually has reminded me of something I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
Ozempic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Talk to me about Ozempic.
I didn't know this until recently. You can get it in the chemist down the road from me in Bali. Right. Here is a different ballgame to obviously the UK and accessibility to it, but wherever there's a requirement, it's going to be there really. I think it's a wonderful thing for actually people that need it, diabetics that would benefit from that. And if you're of a certain, I'm not going to pretend to know exact details of it because I haven't coached clients to take it. Obviously they're coming to me because they don't want to choose a route like that. But it's personal choice. I just think there isn't enough discussion about the longer term impacts because it's quite new on things like muscle mass and the health complications that can arise by taking a drug like that for healthy people.
Going back to what we were saying earlier, the best diet is the one that's got longevity and that you can stick to. And yeah, you don't want to be on pharmaceuticals for the rest of your life if you can avoid it. So yeah, as you say, there are cases where it should be used. And also I will not deny that there are pharmaceuticals out there that will greatly enhance performance or greatly enhance what you're trying to physically achieve. And I think this fits into those category, like similar to steroids, it should be taken in that light where you're making a potentially life-changing decision. There could well be side effects of doing it for you. And it's not a decision that should be taken lightly.
No. Yeah, and I guess in the context of steroids, I've been coaching for 8 years. I've coached many guys that have a history of taking it or have taken it when they've been coached by me. I understand. I think there's not enough emphasis or support mentally for them as to why they chose that route and support during that process, because I get it. It's like you want to see results. You try to increase that. And I just don't think there's enough cognitive support available for them in that journey.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
100%. As you said earlier, there's going to be a reason why behind it. And in most cases, it's not going to be a healthy one.
Again, it comes back to like body image and being so critical and detesting the way that you look, that you choose surgical interventions, medical interventions that are available for you. But there's, again, like you can't hate your way into those kind of things. And you can do it with drugs for sure, but the longevity of that on your mental health and physical health is going to cost.
Yeah, 100%. Another interesting one that I'm pinching from your socials is nutrition for ADHD.
Oh, yeah.
I have never considered nutrition and ADHD in the same sentence until I came across this. So educate me.
So you've got to think about like neurochemicals in terms of dopamine and the ability of that, especially if you're on medication for ADHD, SSRIs and things like that are going to artificially alter those. That is going to have a high impact on impulsivity, your desire for quick availability of sugar and food, and the timings that you eat, whether you're hungry or not. You're just so dysregulated from your internal cues sometimes, because that's the impact of having like ADHD, that people just struggle to find consistency in their routine with food and to look after themselves with it. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. So by changing your diet, you can monitor or manage the effects of ADHD?
I think you can stop exasperating the pendulum swing of not eating all day, eating at regular times, choosing choices that are very processed and probably not optimal for you, but you just want dopamine and the level of calorie intake that comes with depends on what you're trying to achieve with it. If it's really affecting you, then most chances are you might be on medication. But I think ADHD is so common now, like especially in women that I coach, because men and women obviously display ADHD a bit differently. So it's
And ADHD, the game has changed, and I've done quite a lot of looking into this recently. It used to be something that can actually be hereditary, that can be passed down, but it's very interesting in that it's something that is potentially hereditary, but also you can give yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And in this day and age, when we are training our attention spans to be entertained by videos and reels that last 10 seconds before we're on to the next one, and we have, as you say, dopamine spikes in the form of fast food that can be delivered to your door in 20 minutes, we are training our brains to be ADHD.
Yeah.
And I think it is so common now. And I think if they did a mass diagnosis on the world, I reckon half the population is going to have ADHD these days.
Oh, for sure. And I'll be able to pick it up in, especially women, because we keep it in our brain. It's the rumination of thoughts. It's the constant a million things on your to-do list, always feeling like you're in some sort of productivity debt. So we don't have a lot of the time, the hyperactivity aspect of it. We have the more ADD, which is, the non-physical, but some really do.
All right. How does estrogen affect your appetite?
Okay, so the way I teach those hormones is estrogen is the Beyonce of sex hormones. And she's also a bit of an appetite suppressant.
Right.
So in that phase of our cycle from like roughly day 1 to 14, which is when it kind of slowly goes up and peaks before ovulation, that is when you're probably not going to be as hungry. You're probably mentally, probably at your best, physically, you feel strongest in the gym. It's more the effects of progesterone, the yang to the yin, at the other side of the cycle that does a lot more to the appetite and increases things in PMS week and that aspect of hormones that we struggle with.
Interesting. And are there any action points that women should take when considering that information?
Don't try and diet in the last 2 weeks of your menstrual cycle. Probably not the best. I've never met a woman who during PMS week likes their body. We all suffer with bad body image days. I can look at a check-in at this point and kind of know where my clients are at in their cycle because of the way that they're describing things in their day and their week. Like spitting rubbish, hate everything, not losing weight. This is terrible. Next week, they're like, oh yeah, I feel great. Everything's amazing. I'm like, okay, what happens?
Yeah.
But with the use of like contraceptives and stuff, that's a different matter because it's not your natural cycle. So it does depend on whether that's artificially, managed by tablets or whatever form of substitute.
Makes sense. And one other thing I'd like to touch on with you is caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about caffeine. Now, I'm someone who has a difficult relationship with caffeine.
What's difficult?
It's similar to everything else in my life. It's all or nothing. And I will go through periods where I don't have any caffeine at all, and that will last a few weeks. I'll have one day where I wake up after a really bad sleep and I've got loads to do and I think, right, I'm going to have a coffee.
Yeah.
That coffee is always the catalyst for my next caffeine addiction. So I will then the next day have a coffee, the week after I'll need 2 to get the same effect that 1 gave me. And I'll go through an entropy to the point where I'm having 4 or 5 coffees a day and I need them just to wake up in the morning.
Oh.
So
okay.
I can't deny the effect that it has on working out. And if I'm in a period where I'm having caffeine all the time, and then I try and go and do a workout, then without any caffeine in my system, my body goes on strike. It's like, no, this sucks. Don't want to do it. Stimulate me. And so at the moment, I'm in a phase where I'm having 1 coffee daily, and I'm starting to reach that period where I'm wanting 2 a day.
Yeah.
So
you don't want to get there, I'm sensing?
I don't want to get there because I wake up in the morning and was feeling hungover and I feel rough until I have my first coffee of the day. And I try and follow a rule where I don't have caffeine within 90 minutes of waking up.
Yes.
Because your body is still firing on its adenosine system rather than the adrenal. Have I got that the wrong way around?
No, good. That's human, yeah. All over it, yeah.
Nice one. I'm neglecting everything I'm quoting. Which means that if you do that, you're then going to have big crashes later on in the day because you're suppressing the release of some of your sleepy hormones.
Yeah.
So I try and avoid doing it, but then that means the first hour and a half of waking up, it's almost like I'm depressed. Like I wake up, I can't get out of bed, I'm tired, I'm lethargic, and I'm just, my eyes open thinking about that caffeine that I can get in.
Wow. Okay. It sounds like you're quite sensitive to stimulants then. You can probably metabolize things quite quickly. We all have a different metabolism rate of drugs and like caffeine. So like also body weight and size comes into it, which I don't really think of before. Like me having a shot of caffeine is going to be different to you having a shot of caffeine. We're different weights and sizes. So it depends on that as well. So how much of it do you think is psychosomatic in terms of training and you've convinced yourself that that's how it is?
I don't think much of it is psychosomatic. I think there is an element, like if I'm going into a workout thinking I'm caffeinated, I'm energized, I'm fresh, then I'm probably going to do better than if I'm thinking I didn't sleep well, I haven't had my coffee. But I can be halfway through a workout, be like, why does everything feel so hard today? Be like, oh shit, I forgot to have a coffee today. So I think there is definite correlation there.
From a nutrition perspective, I have a lot of clients that obviously mask hunger and that with caffeine use. So I would also want to deep dive into how your nutrition is and whether you're supporting your actual energy requirement from your day of eating or the last day of eating and how much energy you've expended to know whether that's just a deficit or something that your body's trying to not like we need energy and why it feels that way, which is
So
interesting.
what I'm picking up is it sounds surprising to you that my body becomes this reliant on caffeine.
Not surprising. I mean, I'm the same, especially here where the quality of coffee is good. I mean, I didn't want to start, but apparently a large cappuccino here is 3 shots of espresso. And I'm obviously like a petite, tiny person. Like I don't need 3 shots of espresso. But yeah, I'm the same. Like when I first got here, I detoxed before I flew back to the UK, didn't have any. Then when I got back, I was like, just one. And then one turns into a second one around midday. And then you feel it because it's dope. It's pleasurable. Like it's a nice thing. Coffee culture is such a good thing to get. Well, I found a lot of value in it. I'm very productive in that cafes and working. So it is a cycle. But then I guess it's like habit stacking and just rewiring that neural pathway you ingrained yourself back into.
100%. Because you said I'm probably sensitive to stimulants.
Yeah.
I am, like 100%. And when I have coffee, there is a chance that it's going to send me anxious and jittery. And usually when I reach the point of having 4 a day, I don't realize it at the time because it becomes my new base level, but I'm almost in a permanent sense or permanent level of anxiety and jitteriness. And it's not until I come off it that I'm like, oh, wow.
Okay.
The first few days are always really hard, but then when I'm off it, because I think it takes 9 days for your body to completely clear.
I have heard that. Yes.
Yeah. Clear the caffeine
from. Then I think maybe, or potentially human, someone.
Yeah, I can't remember where I got that one from. But 9 days should be how long it takes for you to reset your caffeine tolerance back to baseline. So if you're having 4 a day, then after 9 days, you should be back to that 1 a day, giving you the effect that you needed. So I'll do these detoxes to try and achieve that. And then I'll be like, wow, life isn't as scary. And
yeah, it is wild how it does affect, anxiety and stressing you, which is probably why we're all very productive on it, because we're all just stressing ourselves out. But it's very taxing on our nervous system. Like obviously stimulants do that, and probably means you've got some work to do on your nervous system, if I'm honest, in terms of like fight and flight, calming yourself, being able to feel calm at times, and maybe get the sense that I'm not particularly good at that, but I could be wrong.
I think that'd be fair. And I think back to, because I've only got to the point of having 4 or 5 coffees a day once. That was last year. I had just left my job. I'd had my visa cancelled to live in the place that I was living in. I was trying to build a project that I was behind on. Okay. I was trying to move my clients over from my last place who were fighting me to try and keep the clients there. And there was a lot going on. So then when you factor in the 5 coffees a day, it did feel like the world was extremely intense. And a molecular fact, not molecular, a scientific fact that I love about caffeine is that it isn't actually giving your body energy.
No.
It is actually consuming energy because your body will try to reach that point of homeostasis and it will realize it's got a stimulant in it. And it is actually expending energy to try and flush the caffeine out of your system.
Okay.
So by taking it, you are giving yourself the illusion of energy in the short term because you are stimulated. But in actual fact, if you take caffeine, it is actually good to help you with dieting or being in a calorie deficit because it will increase the base level of calories that your body needs to just maintain itself.
Oh, like thermogenesis wise? Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you if you take 2 people and you put them on the exact same diet and imagine they have the same levels of activity and the same caloric baseline, and you give one of them a shot of espresso in the morning and the other one no shot of espresso, the person that's had the shot of espresso will actually burn more calories than the person that hasn't.
I guess it's a great performance enhancer to some degree. So it affects, your output in terms of interesting.
Yeah. And also, as you say, it can suppress appetite, which can help as well. And has also been proven that can improve performance in the gym and things like that. So
yeah.
But
you're also right in that, like, at some point, behaviors always leave clues, and your inner state is likely going to affect your outer state. So in that time of when you were experiencing probably quite a lot of stress and anxiety, your body was just trying to match that because that's, I guess, the reality of your world. So when you're in a calmer environment, like I don't know, somewhere like here and you're quite settled, then it's amazing when you're out of a stressful place, like how much your nervous system will allow you to, you know, take a step back from behaviors that are not maybe the most helpful for you.
100%. Because thinking about it, I can't imagine having 5 coffees a day.
I mean, I thought mine 2 and the third shot was like about the 4th time. Yeah. Like, are we talking shots, barista made, or?
We're talking barista made. I would stop in 7-Eleven in the morning on the way to the gym, and I would buy an iced Americano and a can of Monster, take both of them into the gym and be alternating sips between the two.
Oh, you went random. Oh, I hadn't quite grasped. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and again, if I tried not having the Monster and just having the coffee, I felt depleted. It's a mad level of entropy that you go through when you let yourself. I offered a friend a coffee when we met the other day, and she said, "No, thank you. I've had my coffee today." And
I can't relate.
Yeah, and I was like, I love it. I was like, you have. She wasn't saying it with the point of saying, I only drink 1 coffee a day. She was saying, no, thank you, I've had my coffee today. But what that implies is I strictly limit myself to 1 coffee a day. So I don't want to have another. And I think that is a very good mindset to be in.
Yeah, it is interesting how I seem to have gravitated towards the most strongest coffees in Canggu, really, in the area. Didn't realize it at the time, but obviously my taste buds are quite attuned to good quality espressos. So you do have to be careful, because the difference between an espresso shot from a machine versus a barista is probably like 100 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah.
So for 4 cups of a ready instant versus 4 barista made is a completely different scenario.
I think that number, actually, just by coincidence, I think there is 4 times the amount of caffeine in a barista made coffee than there is in an instant made. Because I think it's around 30 milligrams of caffeine is the average in an instant coffee. Okay. And it's around 120 milligrams in a barista made coffee. So. And for context, 120 milligrams is around the level of caffeine you'll have in a Monster.
Yeah, that's Monster. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a different ball game.
What do you take from this? Just don't do 4.
Well, that's why I was
4 coffees a day.
I was looking to you to tell me.
Oh, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, when it comes to caffeine, I love it. I love it for the value it brings to my life, not just it. I mean, would I say I'm addicted? Would I feel unsettled if I hadn't had a coffee today? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure I'm the best person for the caffeine withdrawal at all, but 4. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I think it is balance, isn't it? You've got to find also the cost benefit analysis of it, like how much stress is it putting on your body, how much stress is it putting on you mentally, and how much benefit is it bringing you? Because my dad, he doesn't drink water. He drinks 9 cups of tea and 9 cups of coffee a day. Granted, instant cups of coffee, so as we were just saying, it's a lot smaller. But he doesn't drink water. Caffeine is also, I've forgotten the scientific word for it, but it makes you thirstier. It makes you dehydrated.
Okay, diuretic.
Diuretic, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, so caffeine is a diuretic. So drinking coffee will actually make you thirstier than if you hadn't drunk it at all. Obviously, the amount of water that you add to that will then change things. As he's having home brewed coffee and adding full cups of water, I guess he was achieving a level of hydration or he'd be dead. So
true, his body needed it somehow.
Yeah,
that was his vehicle.
So maybe his hereditary inherited a caffeine addiction.
I would say so. That's interesting. Generationally inherited trait of yours, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Couple last points that I wanted to do, Didi. I've written down a couple of quotes that you have shared.
I do love a quote, so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I love a quote as well. I want to read them back to you now, go a bit deeper on them. And I thought about bringing this one up earlier because you actually mentioned something about your inner Goggins.
All right, yeah.
But I thought I'd save it for the end. You keep being hard on yourself because you think it's productive. It keeps you moving forward. How's that working for you?
It's a good one, right?
It is a good one. And it resonated with me and hit me very deeply because those of the listeners who listened to my podcast that I did by myself, talking about the tough couple of months that I'd been through recently, this was it in a nutshell.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, tell me more about how you interpreted it.
I think of myself as someone who has a really high work ethic and is a high achiever.
Yeah.
And I pushed myself constantly. And I always had people telling me that I needed to be kinder to myself, that I needed to be more patient with myself. And it sounded like platitudes from people that probably didn't work hard enough themselves, right?
Yeah.
And it would be my close friends would say this to me, and I'm like, no, it's not that. And then I had this breakthrough moment, and I could tell the story again, but it's about a 10-minute monologue on the sort of breakthrough moment that I had. So in a nutshell, I watched a documentary that had a baseball player and a fan club. And every time he came out, he was playing horrendously and they all booed him. They then decided to get behind him and show him some love after he was having the worst streak ever, and give him a round of applause when he came out, regardless of what happened. Came out, he missed the first swing. Everyone still was behind him. I love you. Like, you got this.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's an awesome documentary. It's called The Turnaround, and I would highly recommend it to anyone. It's 25 minutes long, but it is the most profound documentary that I've watched in a long time. Anyway, they show him some love. He then turns it around and starts going. And I had the realization that I am both the baseball player and the audience in my own internal ecosystem. And I was booing myself every time that I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve in a day, and wasn't showing myself any support, even when I did things right. And I had to go and do some research on how to be kinder to myself and how to change my inner voice.
Yeah.
And the problem was, off the back of that, although it felt like the most profound epiphany I had ever had in my life at that moment, I then let myself off the hook and I was very unproductive for the next few weeks. So there has to be a happy balance between holding yourself accountable, but not creating intolerable work environments in your own mind. So I keep being hard on myself because I think it's keeping me productive and it keeps me moving forward. I do, and I am too hard on myself, or I have historically been too hard on myself. How's that working for me? It has been working for me because it's got me to where I was, but it also pushed me to the point of almost breakdown because I created such an unhappy condition inside my own brain. So how's it working for me? Swings and roundabouts, I think, is the answer.
Do you find it easier to intellectualize your feelings than actually sit with them? Like, how are you at that as a concept?
Yes. My mum describes me managing my emotions as everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine.
Comes out somehow, right?
Exactly, yeah. And when I was going through that period that I mentioned last year, where all of this stuff was sort of crashing and burning around me, I was like, I'm fine, I'm caffeinated as hell, 4 or 5 coffees a day. I'm good, I'm just working, I'm going to get through it. And then it took this as the bottle popping off for me to release pent up emotions that I'd been feeling for 3 months, but it just subdued them so that they didn't distract me from, you need to keep working harder, you need to be more productive. So it's definitely something that I'm working on. And since then I have been checking in with myself. It's how am I actually doing?
Yeah. Nice.
And I think that's helping.
You should be proud of that. Some people don't even get to that point. You really don't.
So hopefully if you're listening and you keep being hard on yourself because you think it's productive and it keeps you moving forward, if you're not happy in that situation, then maybe stop and consider it. But you have to find that balance, right? Because I think the reason I am where I am today and the reason I've been able to build and achieve what I've built is because I have that constant feeling of inadequacy that is causing me to work this hard. So on one side, it is a benefit, but on the other side, where do you prioritize your mental health over your outward success to the world?
Yeah. No, I get it. It's easier to. It's easier to focus on something because you can dissociate from your internal state, but often it gets you far to a certain point and it's only sustainable for a long time. There's only one David Goggins. Yeah. Let Goggins be Goggins. Everyone else just either needs to go to therapy or, just calm down. Yeah. But I get it. Like, I guess we both spent time in very chaotic or stressful environments, and that will rewire our nervous system so that every day you wake up with this sense of hypervigilance. You feel like the carpet's just going to be pulled from underneath you.
Hypervigilance is the perfect word for it.
Yeah. Your brain is a constant threat detector and it will never allow you to sleep because it is the most compassionate organ you have. Its pure job is to help you, keep you surviving. So it's like You need to be worried about that. Do you need to be worried about that? But what about that?
Oh, that's it in a nutshell, Didi, because even if I was giving myself downtime, I'd be like, okay, go distract yourself, watch a movie for a bit or something. In the back of my head, it's going, why are you watching a movie? You got this to do, you got that to do, you got this to do, you know? So what it really was, it was no rest for 3 months. Because even when I was giving myself those periods, I wasn't allowing my brain to just shut off and enjoy the moment of not having anything to do. So 100%, I resonated with that big time when I read it.
I'll also say that most of the time when I coach clients, that voice in them isn't theirs. It is somebody else's. So I was that for a second to just say, like, I won't go too deep into it, but I want to highlight that a lot of our upbringing is around watching and understanding the world through older generations. And on the topic of compassion, one of my clients last week said that her grandmother said that self-praise is no praise. Like, we are coming from maybe one, even two, like our parents. I mean, mine were terrible. It's like, they're not the most compassionate people, like, to themselves at all. And especially like our grandparents of the older generation. So honestly, it just seeps into that.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that my family are always extremely supportive, and whatever it is that I try to do, they will support me and back me in it. So I know it's not their voice. So it does beg the question of
whose is it? Yeah.
Whose is it? Yeah. All right. One more quote for you, Didi. And I like this one. What all fools let me start on again. What all fools have in common is getting ready to start.
Yeah. Yeah. The old thinking about doing the thing, preparing to do the thing, planning to do the thing is not actually doing the thing, right?
100%.
Is it?
Yeah.
Probably. Most of my clients are. I'm not going to lie. He's pretty much my spiritual leader at this point.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. Like, I will gain a sense of, like, I'm busy, I'm doing this, I'm like looking at something, I'm researching something, and I'm still not doing the thing. It's like this constant little dopamine hit of, like, you know, doing things, putting it on your tick list, and then satisfaction crossing it off again.
Yeah.
Not to be switched to, like, now being critical of yourself, but you're not going to find yourself achieving great things if you keep yourself paralyzed by, like, not actually doing the thing that you need.
Have you heard the term mental masturbation?
I think I may have. I chose not to use that. But fine, you go for it.
So that's exactly what it is. It's the mental masturbation of telling yourself that you're going to do something will release the dopamine reward as if you'd actually done it. When you tell a friend, oh, I'm going to start dieting next week, I'm going to get so shredded, you feel good when you say that. It releases dopamine in your brain. But the thing is, that dopamine is there to be released when you actually achieve the thing. And when you're spending it by talking about it, it will actually reduce your drive to take action in the first place. So this was something I was so guilty of. When I heard this, I was like, I love talking about my plans. I do. I love talking about my plans. I'm working on something at the moment that's extremely exciting. And one of my best friends, who we talk about business and stuff all the time, he messaged me and asked me what was going on. And I was like, I can't tell you right now because I've got so much work to do on it. I said, when I see you next month, I'll tell you about it then, because I wanted to keep that drive of doing it. I didn't want to talk big numbers, big excitement, success and everything, because I have learned in the past how it will then take away from me actually doing it.
Yeah.
I used to think it was the other way around. I used to think by telling people I was going to do something, it would give me accountability to actually do it.
Do you think that's true to some extent?
I do, because there is a case where it caused me to do something which I wouldn't have done otherwise. I jumped off a bridge in Bosnia.
Sorry, I just wasn't really. All right. Okay. Yeah, sure.
There's a bridge there called the Mostari Bridge, and it's 26 meters above the water level below. And there have been over 4,000 people that have jumped off it, and someone has died doing it every year for the last however many years. And I decided I wanted to do it. I've jumped off high things before, never anything this high, but I knew someone that had also done it. I was like, right, if they can do it, I can do it. And I was like, right, I'm going to do it. So I deliberately, I was like, right, I'm going to tell everyone that I'm going to do it to make sure that I do, because I was nervous. And I told all my friends, I told all my family, my mum hated me for telling her before I'd done it. But I told everyone I was going to do it. And then I made the stupid mistake the night before of reading some of the horror stories of people that had done it. And I read this article that this guy had written saying, for those of you that are thinking of jumping off the Nostari Bridge, please don't. It's not worth it. I know you want the cool video. I know you want the accolade of having done it. It was like, I did it 3 years ago. I'm still in a wheelchair and I'll never walk again.
Oh my God.
I went to sleep that night and I literally had nightmares about it. I was waking up and the next morning I was so stressed and so anxious that I was sat at breakfast with my little brother and he could see the state I was in. And he was like, "Nee, just don't do it." Okay. Like, yeah. And I was like, I've told everyone I'm doing it. So I'm doing it.
It's weird, isn't it? It's like, would you run a marathon if you couldn't tell anybody? Would you do something if you couldn't document it or present it to the world? And I guess it's a good indicator of whether this is truly something internal or externally motivated.
Intrinsic or extrinsic. What's the driver? Yeah. I agree.
So bridge jumping, maybe not on your cards.
Well, I did it twice. I jumped off and it went so well. I landed in the water cleanly. I came up. I wasn't hurt at all. I came up. The adrenaline rush was like nothing I'd ever had in my life. I got out and I was like, like shouting. I was like, I'm doing that again. The second time I did it, I leant. And that just goes to show how this is a game of literal millimeters. I leant ever so slightly forward so that the impact with the water pulled my face up and it tore the piece of, I don't know, like a frenum that ties your gum to your top lip. So just that tiny little imbalance. It was nowhere near a face plant. And when you watch the video, it looks like I went in straight, but that tiny little difference caused me to come up with a mouthful of blood and the sore on top lip and everything else. So that was a little less exhilarating. And I was like, okay. That's enough.
Number 3, no.
Yeah, exactly. So I stopped at 2 on that one.
Okay.
So there is something in it. When you are making other people aware and you care about what they think, there is a degree of holding yourself accountable. But be aware that you are also spending dopamine, which you should be reserving to doing the project by telling them, and find that happy balance. It's awesome. Didi, any other closing notes on health, fitness, nutrition?
I mean, I guess we spent a while talking about compassion, which is a huge part of any real goal success. So have a think about your inner critic and how that is for you. Most things about nutrition are quite superficial. They are the tip of the iceberg. So maybe have a think about what's subsurface, because that's what's going to sink the ship, really. Supplements are going to do great for certain people, but work on the foundations. And I know that's teaching people to suck eggs here, but it does work for a reason.
Yeah.
And extreme things in the world of fitness or nutrition, you just have to be careful that they're coming from a place of health and not masking some of the distress core.
Yeah, 100%. I think if you actually look at the definition of the word supplement, it is something that supplements something else. It is not something that is a cure. And so when you're looking at anything like that, start with basics, as you say, the diet, the nutrition, the exercise, the general routine, and then add those on top where amazing. Didi, I have loved this conversation. It's been extremely interesting and educational for me, and I'm sure it will be for the audience. If people want to keep up with what you're doing, or perhaps talk to you in a bit more detail about their own nutrition and fitness and cognitive behavioral therapy, where can they go?
You'll find me mainly on Instagram. I am Diddles for Rizzle. Don't ask me about that handle. It's kind of like, when you're 13 and you pick a Hotmail thing. I'm still dealing with that. I'm going to change it at some point, but that's where you can find me most. And I also have a website that has a lot of free resources if you want to start your fat loss journey or building muscle or relationship with food. And that's coachhaggy.com.
Amazing. I will put both handles in the description. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. It's been great.
Awesome.